Stream share. Okay.
You
Okay.
back? Okay,
Yep.
so do you see this function? Do you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, good. So you take the function that,
Mm-hmm.
again, returns mutated um, the mutated array that is then subtracted by that. Okay, so you take that and then you find out what that value is of it, right? Does that
Mm-hmm.
make sense, everybody? That should be value 0. That should be the 0th value of the new array. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If you go to 0.76, that's undefined. Okay. Because that's -1. All right. So you take that. So now you have everything you need. So, all right, no, I'm sorry. So now you take that, and let's say you go to Python, and then, oh, actually, instead of going to Python, let's make a new, Python file, penis.py.
Sweet.
Yeah, exactly. So then you take the array, okay, where is it? Testing.js. You take your array, then you copy it into Python, okay? But let's call it something else. Let's call it my array. I always call stuff my stuff. I don't know why. Then my print my array dot index. But by the way, this is GitHub Copilot there.
We love
And
it.
then and then UDP. And now 467. Okay, do you see? So
Mm-hmm.
467 is what is how much the array is shifting.
Okay.
So now if you go to my code, if you go to my my script,
Yep.
for I in range 467, you append then pop. So what basically it's doing is it's taking the first item and putting it at the end that amount of times. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yep.
Then I make a function, okay, which takes the something and subtracts 0x72, because even though they actually changed it, they updated the file, so it should be 76. So it takes 0x76, so that's the new one, right? From that, okay? And then it returns my array, which is the new thing of that index. So the
Okay.
first thing I do, by the way, this actually permanently changes the index. I just want to start there. Let's go back for a second. So this here, when you append and pop, actually change this original value. So let's just just to show you how I did it. Okay. Okay. So do you see? The
Mm-hmm.
original first value was Firefox, and the new first value is UDP. Exactly what we got here, right? Does
Sure.
that make sense for everybody?
Wait, go back to the code for a second.
So
So,
I'm going to go back to how I did it. Okay, you take the function and you see what the first value is.
which
Why
is
is the
UDP.
first value 0x? Yeah, why is the first value UX77? Because I don't know, it's not penis. Um,
Yes, it is.
because wait, where's my original JS file? Oh, it's in here. Why? Because because oh, I think I put it in here, right? Did I?
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
testing.js,
testing
yeah.
giant.js. Yeah. Why is it 0x77? Because that's what it's doing here. Do you see that? It's taking u, okay, and it is basically subtracting 0x77 from it.
Okay.
Because u is the same thing as b, because that's how JavaScript works. If you take a function and then return a function, this and this are the same, and this and this are the same.
Yep.
Okay, so u is b and it's subtracting 0x77 from b. Okay, so where am I right now? Penis.py. No, not penis.py. Penis.py is done. The JavaScript py. Okay. So it takes that's the first thing I do. So it's like now I have the new array. Okay, does that make sense here?
How did you get 467 again? Did I miss that step?
Because here. Because that's penis.py. That's penis.py.
Oh, because you checked it in the
because
original array.
I took the array and I found what the index of a UDP was, which is 467. Okay. That's actually that's how you know what this is, what
all that junk is actually doing.
What all this junk is doing. That is really what this whole thing that I just published was all about. You don't feel like figuring out what this does, because I can't do it. I can do it sort of, but it's really complicated. So instead of reading this and figuring out what this is, why don't you just run the function and find out what the first thing is? Okay, the first thing is UDP. So now you know that what this did to the function, what this did to the array, is put this first.
And that OX77 will always be there?
The reason why OX77 is there is that's here. Okay, I want you to understand that's really important. The OX77 is really important because actually this is doing two different things to the array.
Exactly.
It does this thing, and then it also does this thing. And you have to actually take both of them into account. What this thing does is actually mutates the array
467
and moves it
times.
No, yeah, 467 times, exactly. That's 467. And then what this does is that when you call this function here, it takes this number, subtracts this from it, and then that's the new index of the new array.
Yep. Okay. I got you.
Okay. Does that make sense? That's what all obfuscation is in JavaScript. That's what it all is. Okay. So I just reverse engineer that. So I take the array and I do the same thing to it. I mutate it by 467, just like it did. And then I make a function which takes a value just like this does, just like all these things do, right? Just like that does.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And it subtracts 0.76 from it, which is just what 77. I'm sorry, 77. Just like
they do.
They do, exactly. And then what I do next is I take, so the next thing I want to show you before I go into why I'm doing this is what they're doing next, just to be dicks, is let's go with this function here. So this is called A3Q.
Yes, they just keep renaming it over and over.
Yes, exactly. So here, there's a function here. First, they take A3Q and then rename it UF.
And then they use
and then they do UF to that thing. So like I obviously can't just replace A3Q with that. So what I did is that all right, so the first thing I did is that I opened my original JavaScript file, which I called purify.ps.
Instead of testing JS. It's the same.
I don't know. It's the same, but whatever. The original JavaScript file.
Okay.
Then I did data equals r.read, right? Which is I'm just reading the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I make a regex. And what that is that if you look at it, ignore the parentheses for a second. This is just any letter or number, okay? With that is a real parentheses. That's not like a regex parentheses. So with parentheses and then 0x and then letter or number plus, okay, and then another real parentheses. So really, I'm looking for this, right? I'm looking for that.
Yep.
That's what I'm looking for right here, okay? And so then, and I actually make two groups. I make three groups. I make one group, which is the whole thing. One group, which is the original name. That doesn't matter. I actually stopped using that, but it doesn't matter. And then the second group, which is the number. Okay? And that third group is what's going to be put in that function. I want to stop for a second. Does everyone understand why I'm doing that?
So for each
so
match...
basically all I need to do is take the number here. I'm trying to get this number. I'm trying to replace this thing here, and then I'm trying to take that. I'm trying to get the hex, and then get what the real value of the real new array is, and then replace this thing with that.
Sure. Will you go back for a second to the deobfuscate? So you find stuff with regex, then for match in matches. If you're trying to find what's in,
well, in order for you to understand this, I'm gonna show you.
Well, but you just said you only need what's in parentheses, right?
Watch. So this is what the matches are going to be, right? Match 0 is going to be the whole thing, right?
Yep.
Each of the whole thing. Match 1 is going to be here, right? It's going to be the thing, and then match 2 is going to be this. So now, what am I going to do? I'm going to take that, right? This makes this.
You're just turning it into an int. Yeah.
Into an int, okay. Yep. Then I take that.
Yeah, and you're just
and what do I do
stringing.
With it? Exactly. What do I do, right?
Okay. You're just pulling it from the array.
Wait. Did you see find array number index?
Yep. So that returns the actual value.
That returns
similar to what you were doing with UDP.
Value.
Yep.
So I'm actually gonna before I do that, to show you. Look what happens here. Do you see?
I was gonna say get rid of the other print maybe.
So this prints, right?
The actual value of what it's gonna be.
The actual value. Does that help people? By the way, when I write this stuff, I do it just like this. So I do it line by line, and then I print.
So where does the for loop? Oh yeah, the for loop already ran. Okay. So the for loop already rearranged the array to what you need it to be.
Which one? Here? This one here?
Loop, yeah. So
now the array, exactly.
With the range of the offset and so this is technically speaking the quote unquote it's not obfuscated, but this is the quote unquote obfuscated array. It's the shifted one.
So what this did is the same thing as what this did.
Yeah. So what we really need here, is some functions, some named functions.
Here's a function.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh yes, exactly.
So the for loop is actually, so you're taking the original array, then the for loop is shifting the array. So you already found the offset was 467. So the for loop is taking the original array and shifting it 467 times. So which would equal then the new array after the shifting, which is what the JavaScript does. And then you're going through Yeah, well, that's used in the thing. Like that's what I'm saying. That's a function, so that's used in the
no,
thing.
but that actually is a separate function. If you think about it, so this is actually separate
Yeah, I know. I get what you're saying.
from this. So like this shifts the array down here,
Yep.
and up here,
Yep.
this is the function,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
this function you have to subtract it. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fine.
I'm saying like in your code, I think what was like throwing me off is in your code, right? So you have executing Python code, and then you have a function, and then you have more executing Python code. You know what I mean? So technically the for loop actually executes, but then you're defining a function, so it's not executing at that time. So it like reads funny. You know what I mean?
What you're really pinpointing is that I'm a terrible coder. that's the thing that you are highlighting.
What's up, man?
That's the thing you were highlighting in this situation.
Yeah. Okay. So it seems like chat's catch. So it seems like I don't see a bunch of questions in chat, but I think Jay Beers. I think you're on the same thing. Yep. So it shifts the whole array.
Okay.
So it now has a loaded array.
Is this better? Is this better for you?
Yes. Yeah. Wait.
Okay.
What happened? Yes. Yeah. Yes. See, but you should also just put it all. You should put it all into the main function, right? So like if name equals main, and then it's all running under main.
But you know the problem.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just fucking with you.
No, but for real, the reason I don't do that is I do this like I didn't make this out of my mind. Like every single part of this, I like ran with print statements and all this stuff in order to get the right thing. And it took me like a long time. Like I don't know, like this thing here, each part of the regex here, I had to figure out how to do it.
So okay, so let's finish it up though for the stream. So the real result is just you're just format printing the actual index. So you're taking, so what it's actually printing is the actual word, the unobfuscated word from the shifted array. Okay. Exactly. So then whole match is 0, and you replace whole match with
whole match is match 0 is again watch.
Yeah, I remember you printing it. Yeah. So it's the whole thing. And you're taking that whole thing and you're just replacing it with the real result, which is just the thing.
That's right.
Yep. So you're turning a like UF parenthesis number into a result from the array. Like that at the end of the day is what it's doing.
Exactly right. So I'm just going to show you a difference. The difference here is
well, I was going to say, so can you change purify.js and run it against testing.js so we can see the actual like
So here it is. I mean, I get it.
Okay, it's in the same thing. Okay.
So where are we? So final.js. So this is what purified.js originally looked like.
Same thing.
With all this nonsense.
Yep.
And then here's what is it called again? Called final.js. See the difference?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to show you like a little part of it that makes it I'll actually show you like why I even did this. And then I'll show you how it helps.
Dude, don't you love this, Ryan? He was literally just saying he couldn't do a masterclass on this, and what is this? It's literally what this is. No, I was thinking the same thing as you, Jay Beers. I was thinking the same thing. Like, you could definitely make a script where you put in the offset. Like, you put in the offset. Although you'd have to feed it the array somehow, too. Like, through a command line, which would be kind of annoying.
So basically, like, what I was doing is I was looking at this random site thing here. Sure. And I was looking at all the post messages. And so then I constant R, what is that, RF?
Yeah, RF equals RT or something.
All right, so constant RF. All right, so that's what this is the post message here in the original JavaScript. And I actually was trying to just to show you how I do this stuff. I was doing this thing. So I was doing this, and I'm like pausing here, whatever, and then I window, dot post message.
Ryan, can you drop him a link to that, by the way?
All right, so I was. Oh, where is it? Oh, why is it not doing that? Is that right? Try it again. All right, there it is. So I was like doing this and like trying to go through it programmatically, but every time it would get to one of these things, it would have to go back to this
A3Q
function, right? And do you see that? Yeah, it would be iframes. So like I could have just done that, right? Like I just like do this every time, and like then I could like write it out with my hand or whatever.
Like
so I was like, this is annoying. Yeah, like this is annoying, right? So that's here, right? Constant RF. Testing.jf. All right, so that's what it looks like. Do you see this? And that's what it looks like now. Okay, so I can actually understand exactly what's happening here, right? Like it's taking window on post message and then it's making this function. Forget about this, it doesn't matter anymore, right? That's just the obfuscation shit. And then do you see how much better this is?
It is.
That's the point. By the way, what I found out, I was not able to exploit this, is that what this was saying is that if the window, this origin, which I found out was that site, right? So like already I lost because my.staging.found.com, I can't send a post message from that. So if this iframe origin is origin, it does this, which doesn't even matter anyway because that's not an XSS or anything, basically. But I found that out by doing this. It may have been something, but it was nothing in this situation.
There you go.
And that's it. So I mean, this is actually readable JavaScript, whereas this is unreadable JavaScript.
There we go. Do we? All right.
Any other questions, please?
Chat, any questions for XSS Doctor, for the Doctor of XSS? I'll link the blog one more time. Oh, let's do this. I'll link the blog one more time in there. Again, he's in Jason's Discord. He's in Critical Thinking Discord. He's in all the Discords. If you have questions, ask him. Yeah. I don't know. No one seems to be asking questions. Either everyone is literally stunned into silence, or they're all deobfuscating JavaScript as we speak, pretty much.
I think a little bit of both, or maybe they're drinking scotch like I am.
I was gonna say, or it's Friday night and they're not drinking. Okay, well I will let you go, man. Thanks for hopping on and showing us. See you later, man. All right, let's make sure we. All right. So, okay, so we had a Ryan made me scare start, but we seem to end at the same amount of viewers. Okay, seriously though, guys, that kind of stuff, like I said, we're obviously all a little lost. Again, this is just proof that XSS Doctor is better than the rest of us. Just built different. But this kind of stuff that he was showing and talking about, like I know it's like mind melting, but the more you work with it, obviously, the easier it gets. Now that he went through it, using some of it, like grabbing the script, using it on a couple sites, being on the lookout for obfuscation, and like seeing those similar patterns, that like quote unquote pattern recognition, is how you improve as a hacker, right? So like that is like vital importance, because those kind of next steps, like you taking the step to deobfuscating JavaScript and being able to read it when other people can't. Like I said, the original reason he even did any of that was because so we could read a post message event listener, right? So that like that is something that like he may read that like no one else has read. So it's stuff like that. Mythical Gray, the blog post is right there, and I think most of our conversation will be in the VOD. Again, I had to cut it because Ryan scared me, and I had to cut part of the VOD, like the beginning part of the VOD, but pretty much the whole thing is on there. I was thinking about that. I think I might make like a playlist on YouTube and double save the VODs to YouTube, so because Twitch only holds them for 7 days or something. So I will probably take all the VODs and start putting them on YouTube. I think I have like the last 3 or something, including the second half of this one will go on YouTube, the one that doesn't have the Discord stuff. Even though, again, there was nothing in there. Ryan just scared me because he does that. I will grab my YouTube for you. Actually, I think it's on because I have like a good link. Yeah. So that is my tube of you. Check it out. Oh no. Like for sure. It was definitely like it was definitely a close call. It was definitely a close call. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it was a close call, but it ended up working out for everybody in the end. Because it was just like basically us talking about the stream. So we were good. But yeah, this is some of the stuff we should definitely be doing. Right? Again, seriously though, if you're watching, if you're like a lurker or whatever, and you're going over this and you're like, I have no fucking idea what just happened. xssdoctor is super nice about talking to people. He's always open. That's why he talked to us right now. Go ask him if you have a question or something else. I am curious, like I wish I could find, like I wish I had off the top of my head like more examples of obfuscation, because I am kind of curious if we could find some more examples, and if they really do all work like exactly the same, you know, just like different offsets and different shifts and stuff like that. Because I am curious if there would be a way to make a like a one size fits all script that you can just kind of plug JS in, and that will like go through and parse it. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like the only problem is it would need to somehow find and load the array. And again, that can all be at the beginning of the file or the end of the file, and it can all be named something random. But I'm curious, because all you really need is the like -0, like negative hex 77. So like the negative hex shift, the original one, and then how much the other function is shifting the whole array. Because it goes through the whole array and shifts it, and like in this example is 467 times. But like that's all you really need to do is reshift the array 467 times, and then know where the zeroth, like where it's starting the zeroth index at, so you can subtract that. So if you knew those two things and have the original array, like that's how you deobfuscate. So like the shifting the array, like you would just put in the offset and the amount that gets shift. So it'd be like 467, I think it was, and like hex 77. Oh, good night, XNL. I'm surprised you made it this long, dude. I'm proud of you. Good night, man. Sleep well. Sleep so well. Sweet baby angel. So yeah, those two things would go into a script really well, I would think. But how you would get the array in there? Yeah, dude, isn't that crazy? This is the kind of stuff, I have the same thing, Ryan, like when I watch Critical Thinking, or stuff like that, like Critical Thinking, or like what xssdoctor just did, like stuff like that. It's like, oh my lord. Or when I'm reading like blogs and stuff, it's like, wow. But this brings me to a rant. I'm gonna rant super quick. And then I'm going to rant super quick. And then I also wanted to re-show Gungnir because I changed the tool a lot. So I wanted to re-go over it, and then I might clip it or something. But yeah, the convos and Critical Thinking. Yeah, the deep bug bounty hunting stuff, all that kind of stuff. But the rant I have really quick is, so you just saw something that's like a more higher end technique, right? More higher end technique. But when you look at most web hacking training, right? Is there not just a huge gap between where a majority of web hacking training is and stuff like that. Like, maybe I'm totally off on this, but like I've done a lot of the web hacking training. I've done OSCP, I've done OSWA, I've done OSWE, their expert level thing, although their stuff is more like OSWE is all white box stuff. So I get that this wouldn't be included. Yeah, this is why I'm really curious about the CWEE, and we're like working with Hack the Box to do that, because I'm curious if this bridges the gap a little bit when it talks about advanced XSS and advanced CSRF, stuff like that. Like I'm curious if that bridges the gap a little bit, because I feel like there's like I haven't taken a SANS training, but I've talked to a few people that have taken the SANS training, and you're right, nothing will ever be perfect. But like a lot of this stuff still is like so arcane to so many other people, and there's still so much of like you're on your own in the deep end type of thing. I feel like there's just still so much like training that's missing. Because like now, like I said, did it totally confuse me when I saw the blog post in the beginning from xssdoctor? Like, yes. But when someone walked you through it, like, is it still confusing and still a little bit mind melting? Like, sure. But you can't tell me that after listening to xssdoctor go through it, you don't at least understand it a little bit more than you did a second ago, right? So like people that are like, oh yeah, you got to go on your own, you got to dig through the blogs and dig through write-ups and do this stuff. Like if I had seen that done in a write-up, I would not have understood it. Like reading text, because I didn't even understand the blog right away. Like I was still in over my head with the blog until he hopped on and showed us, right? So like, yes, you can like read blogs and do all that stuff, and like it is important, but I do feel like there's still something of like watching someone do it, or like training or shoulder surfing someone or stuff like that seems like important, and I don't feel like there's a lot of like good resources for it. We're restarting the music, by the way. Just realized we were no music because xssdoctor was here. Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. Like you're saying you're doing like Metasploit and stuff, and because that's what I'm saying. Like it's probably a good starting point, but like, and I'm assuming everyone has to like start there. But I mean, it's the same thing, to be fair, if we're gonna go down the college route. Like I did a lot of software development in college because I did computer engineering for a major. How you learn to code and write software in college is like, I mean, the real world is so far beyond. Like it's crazy, and it's not even like it's dated, because that like what you're talking about does sound dated. But like what I learned in college, like, oh yeah, you write a script, you write this thing, and you can like deploy it on a web server and all this stuff. But like there's like Kubernetes, and there's CDN, and there's Edge, and there's like all this kind of stuff, and there's like idiomatic coding and coding properly, and how to like abstract things into interfaces and stuff like that, and like real proper stuff. Like I've been listening to some podcasts and stuff about like Go development because I'm trying to like really do it right. And I got on a call for Gungnir when I was working on Gungnir, the tool. I got on a call, like a Zoom call, with some like Google engineers that like maintain the library, and like it was so embarrassing because like my code looked like shit. Like I obviously wasn't writing like perfect idiomatic code, but like they were asking me questions about the code, and I could tell the way they asked me that like there was some stuff that I just like did so wrong. So we were going through it and changing a bunch of stuff, and like it definitely helped. Like it was like noticeably better after we like just changed a few things, and like I changed a few things to meet their recommendations and stuff. And it's like, damn, like that, I don't know, like I just probably would have never came to that on my own. Like maybe I would have, but like the time between like me coming to that on my own versus like someone just like walking me through why it should be this way, or this is how you could do this, and like helping you along, it just seems like so much faster. And I feel like in the advanced stuff like this, there's not as much of it. That's why I think like critical thinking, like Jason, like Nahamsek, like some of these guys that do try and like jump into the like deeper end, I know they still, like a lot of those guys still try and put out like beginner content too to get people into it, but whenever any of those people like feel brave enough to like take on advanced topics and like really get into the weeds, There's not as much of that, and I'm sure the audience isn't as big for that, but it's kind of cool. Anyway, last thing I want to show, let's whip this up here. Pull open WSL. Is this going to be big enough though? Group hacking as well. I do agree. Group hacking, litty. I hate hacking alone. That's half the reason why I struggle with bug bounties. Or struggle with motivation, I should say, in bug bounties. Okay, here we go. CD. So this version is going to drop in a second here. I'm just going to show you guys like the like some interesting stuff. So the problem we were running into, and I thought it was a problem, was there was a lot of errors coming back, like 500 gateway errors, 504 gateway errors, like 429 obviously, like too many request errors, stuff like that, right? And I thought like that was a me problem. So the more I talked to these Google guys, apparently a lot of that stuff is like the logs, the actual CT logs themselves, that because they rate limit like by IP, by user agent, by all this stuff, but they also limit by like just total requests they're getting at one certain time. Yeah, I feel that self-doubt, Ryan, by the way. I feel that. But so they do this. So, and the tool is now like, I'm very confident, is made to like roll through those errors. So it doesn't mean it just keeps beating it up with requests, but it like exponentially will back off until it notices that the requests are going through again. And then it, you know, it doesn't speed all the way up to hyperspeed, but it like goes back to the regularly timing of the requests, right? So that way, like, it can handle the errors. But like if you're piping the output to something, you don't want that output. If you want to test the tool, you can test it. But if you're trying to pipe the output, which is all the domains, you don't want the errors like fitting in there when they're happening. So the new tool, if you go run, I mean, this will just be the tool in the end. Yeah, Galia. I think Galia. I would agree with Ryan. If the paid platform would be Hack the Box Academy, obviously. Portswigger is free. HackingHub.io, the stuff that Nahamsek and Adam Langley work on, is free. So Portswigger and Hacking Hub are free, I think. At least have free content, right? So those two I would go for first. If you're looking for free, those two right there, boom, boom. Because I think there's free content on Hacking Hub, and Portswigger Academy is always free. So if you're free only, then definitely Portswigger. If you're looking to spend money, I have had decent luck with Hack the Box Academy. I'm doing one of their courses right now, the CWE, the senior web pen testing one, and we're gonna do a little bit on it and what I think, and I'm gonna put a video out with thoughts and stuff like that. And I think we're gonna work with Hack the Box to like see how we do too, because Ryan's doing it with me. But yeah, so Hack the Box Academy is paid. So if you're free only, I would just focus on Portswigger. I would just do Portswigger, because again, like Ryan just said, Portswigger gets really hard. Like if you do it with no solutions and no help, Portswigger rips. Like, it is difficult, which is why I have it on my screen right here. So I actually reset all my progress and have been redoing all the labs with zero help, zero videos, zero walkthrough. And I was going to do it on stream. Again, we keep getting distracted with stuff, and it hasn't quite happened yet, but it will someday. Someday we'll hit that O off, you know? So what I was trying to show here is there's new flags. When the new version comes out, which is going to drop here in a second, there's new flags, okay? So the first one is this, which has been here for a while, the R one, which is your list of root domains to filter against. Now, someone reached out to me and made a very good point, which I'm not sure why I didn't think of this earlier, but if you're trying to use this tool and you don't want to filter anything, at least at this step you don't want to filter anything, before you were required to use the -R flag and put in a file, right? You're welcome. You're welcome. Hit up Ryan on OnlyFans. No, I'm just kidding. He doesn't have an OnlyFans, unless something I don't know about, which is all the way possible. Anyway, so you run the tool. There's 3 flags. None of them are actually required. The -R flag used to be required, right? But if you run the tool with nothing,
there we go.
Thank you for the follow, Galia. I think you're an absolute legend. You are also follower 301, I think, either 300 or 301. I'm not sure it's updating, but you're very close to 300. So when you run it with no root filter now, it's just going to start pooping out everything. It's just going to rip all the certificates, rip all the CN and SAN things, and it's just going to give you everything. Look at all that goodness. Those are all domains. There's so many K8s. There's just so many K8 certificates. It's insane, right? If you want it to, filter, then it's still the same thing, right? If you want it to filter, you still just -R and you give it your roots file, right? Yes? Okay. Now I made a test file, a test.txt file that's just like one domain that's a random, I'll show you just for it to make sense. So for me to test this, I'm using this test.txt file, which is just a domain that will, like, I would hope never exist, right? So that way none of the domains print out and I can only see errors. So in the beginning, so if you want to, like, if you did want to see errors, right? So I will do -R and I'm gonna give it this test.txt so it just doesn't print any domains for me. If you do -V, I mean, I'm hoping nothing will come up right away, but again, it all depends on like where the logs are at and how much traffic they're getting. But if you want it to be verbose, if you give it the -V flag, it will also print out the errors, right? So if you're worried about it, like, is it constantly erroring out? Am I not finding things, like, and you want to see the error messages when they're happening? Again, it's not breaking the tool. It's not stopping the tool. It's just so you can see what's actually totally what's happening. So with the -V flag, it will still print out domains. Like, it still works. The -V flag verbose just means it's running verbosely, which means it will print out all the errors, all the logs, all the everything if something goes wrong. Oh, let me grab you the domain. Share it with your friends. Tell your friends and family. Give it a star. All that good stuff. Let me see. Boom. Oh my gosh, Ryan, you're too fat. Wait, that's not it, dude. I'm not even sure what that is, but it's not it. This is it. Ignore Ryan's. I'm not sure. I'm not even sure what that is. It's like another person. Lamau. Okay, so if you run it in verbose. Now the other flag that I just added, where is it? Where's my help? This one. The other flag that I just added is this debug flag. So the reason why I add this is because during peak hours of both the United States side of the world and the, Asia, India, etc. side of the world, which is pretty much all the time, certain logs right now actually outpace the tool. As in, like, it can't grab fast enough just running one thread. And the only logs that do that are the Google logs, because Google is just filling up like mad. So I'm releasing this version now, but the version after this, I'm gonna, like, specifically for Google logs, I'm gonna have to make like a bunch of Go routines that all read like in tandem, because they don't rate limit you as hard, but it's because there's just so many certificates. But if you want to run debug and actually see, like, you're reading this and this from this log, and this is how many, like, you still have to read till you're to the top of the tree, that's what it does. So that's how, like, I've been able to tell. So if you do, oh, sorry, I have to give it I have to give it the test.txt file, otherwise it just poops out domains. So /test.txt, and then you give it /debug like this. So now we'll tell you, like, this is what's actually happening. So if you see, like, Google this log, you read from there to there, and there's still 70 left on the tree, right? And as it goes, as you let it run, again, it's not printing out domains because I gave it a filter file that will never find anything. But if you can't tell, this Xenon log, you can see it slowly getting bigger. So Google's Xenon is actually outpacing the tool. So test.txt is just one domain that is non-existent. That way I'm using it so I can test. So it doesn't print out domains, it just runs the tool. So if you see all the other logs I'm scanning, other than every once in a while, it can keep up with. But this Google Xenon one is slowly outpacing us, right? It's like, it'll go down every now and then, but it's slowly going up, right? That's because it is literally, there are more oh, you see, so Argon, the Argon log came in, and it'll, like, get filtered out slowly over time. right? The Google, there's only the one Google one that seems to just stick. Like this one is just the Xenon one that we saw a bunch of is just like it just outpaces the tool as it is right now, running one thread. So specifically for that log, I'm going to have to make it run faster. So certain log operators have their own rate limits. So for Google's log operator, I'm going to have to just like let the tool just like grind, like just spam and just rip. And from what I understand, their rate limiting is better. So every once in a while, you'll see something like this, right? Like this one, oh, we didn't make it quite to the end, but then it just disappears, right? And you may not see it for another long time because then you're back at the top of the tree. Right, so every once in a while, some of these other logs will like pop up, but then they slowly read down. So the tool, even with rate limiting, is reading fast enough that there's not a problem. And I don't have to beat the shit out of the log server and everything's fine. But Google, if you notice, Xenon will just slowly outpace me every time. So if you leave the tool running, it will incrementally keep reading into infinity, right, for all the logs. So like technically speaking, you'll keep going. Right? You'll just keep going. The thing is, for specifically Google, I'll have to change some of the logic to implement Go routine reading. So like multiple Go routines are reading in tandem off the same index, which is kind of annoying. But it's something to do. Like if you want to run debug and you want to like mess with it or whatever. But yeah, like to show it again, if you want to run it and not get a bunch of domains out, just make a file, like a filtering file. So this is my test.txt, and it's just this asdf.com. So like a non-existent domain that no one would ever probably publish, so that it's filtering out all the domains. And it's just printing like the debug or the verbose stuff. So that's how I like test the tool. So if you, again, I'm gonna push this version because this fixes a lot of errors. But Google still outpaces me. Again, it'll keep reading. Like, it's not like it's stalling and Google keeps posting. Like, it'll keep reading along with Google as best it can. But Xenon will always outpace me right now until I implement, like, hyperspeed, like, only for Google, which is kind of annoying. So I'm going to have to actually split the tool up into, like, a different kind of reader for each log operator, which is part of what I talked to the Google team about, is, like, it's really finicky, but I'm really proud of it because the first version of Gungnir kind of worked, but kind of didn't. This version is running like really well and like really ripping through certificates and like while getting rate limited, like limited amount of times and like being very nice. So we like that. We like that shit big. I will also say I've ran it against some targets that I'm interested in and like stuff like that, and have regularly found new stuff that doesn't show up in Subfinder until the next day. Like, it's normally about 24 to 36 hours until it, which I haven't checked, but I'm assuming Subfinder gets it from cert.sh, because cert.sh does this stuff too. Like that, like this is literally where cert.sh is getting its data, so you're just getting it at the same time or faster. Because I'm not sure how their watchers work, but yeah. So I have found domains that don't show up in the like passive tools for another like 24 to 36 hours. So again, like what Ryan just said, if you're a recon hunter and you want to be a recon hunter, or you just want to find like new stuff before it comes up, like before other people touch it, this is some of the alerting. Like you could use this tool with alerting, and that's what it would be. Yep. So yeah, because again, some of these domains, they could be internal domains on the certificate, so they won't resolve on the public internet. They could, for any number of reasons, they could not be live, even though they're in a certificate. So you could take the out, like you could filter for the targets you're looking for, the root domains you're looking for, spit that output into either DNSX or HTTPX or whatever, put that into Notify, and you would just get like a bunch of domains. But some of them already do exist, right? So I would add a step, Ryan, to have it check against a file. Also, XNL and I have been talking, and I might add that into the tool, but I also might not, because like that's not what a lot of people use it for. But so yeah, if you were to run like Gungnir with your like normal targets.txt, get rid of debug, like you would run it something like this maybe. So if I had like I would then like anew it with like known domains. So it will, like a new is Tom Nom Nom's tool, right? That just appends it to a text file. If it exists, so a new will only append new domains, right? So you can do it like that, and then you throw notify in the end. Because there could be a certificate, there could be 5 certificates that come through that all have the same domain on them. That resolves. And you would just get notified like 5 times in a row for the same domain. So you can throw them into HTTPX or DNSX or whatever you want to do. So Notify is Project Discovery's tool, or one of their tools. So Notify, GitHub. So all it does is it uses webhooks. So you can give it a Discord webhook, Telegram webhook, or Slack webhook. Oh God, you beat me that time. And then from there, it's like a CLI tool. So it's used the same way. And you can basically notify yourself of any output you want to, or files or whatnot. I would read through it. It's cool. You did. You put the right thing in this time. Absolutely. So the last thing I'm going to say is, and I say this every stream, but so again, this new version is going to get pushed, and then at some point, probably next week, hopefully, there will be a version pushed that will help me catch up to the Xenon, because it's only that Xenon CT log from Google. Like, it's that one that outpaces the tool right now. The tool still reads from it as fast as it can, without hitting rate limiting, but it outpaces it. But it still keeps reading. So anyway, new version's going to come out, fixes a lot of errors, a lot of new flags, and it runs very well compared to the other ones. And then there will be probably another new version, hopefully that will I'll try and find a way to see if I can catch up to Google. If not, it is what it is. But one thing I would recommend, right, is if you're using this tool and you're trying to be like a before people hunter, right, is take this as a kind of a learning experience. No, Xenon is the CT log. It's not a tool. Like, Xenon is one of the CT logs that it's reading from. Right? So there is literally so many new certificates getting posted to this CT log every second that Gungnir, trying to like be nice to their rate limiting, can't read fast enough. Right? The reason why it can't read fast enough is because right now it reads data, handles data, then goes back for another read. Right? So what I have to do is inside the actual tool itself, I have to section off Go routines to actually do the filtering and the reading of the certificates, and then make other Go routines that are doing the reading that just chuck the certificates as they find them into a channel, and have like the 2 set of Go routines channeled together so it will run faster. If that makes sense. The only problem is I can't do that to the other logs because they are way stricter with rate limiting. So Google, since it's so big and there's so many new ones, they let you query the shit out of it. Whereas like Sectigo's logs are little babies. If you touch them like 2 times too fast, they explode on you. So there basically has to be like a little bit different logic for each log operator, and for Google it's gonna have to be like really different logic, because for that specific CT log I'm gonna have to be like extra fast, where the other ones I had to kind of like be careful and I had to keep up, so I had to keep up and not get left behind, but also not get rate limited. It's like a fun little game that I've been dealing with for like the past week. But Google, so you can look, there's a URL for it. Let me find it. So there's this URL, which is the JSON of like all the log lists. But I use all of them that aren't in a rejected status, because rejected ones don't, from what I've read, rejected ones don't get posted to, unless you're running like a phishing campaign, in which case it gets kicked off. So I don't know, you can do the math, however many are there. So the only thing right now is if you run 4x of the tool, they'll all be reading the same thing, right? Like, because the problem is the index, right? So it goes like index 1, 2, you know, I'm not typing. So it goes like index 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? And you're reading like certificate 1, 2, 3. So it actually has to all be built into one tool so that if there's 5 Go routines running at the same time, Go routine 1 is reading certificate 1, but Go routine 2 is reading certificate 2, right? Or maybe they're reading in like groups of 10. So maybe Go routine 1 is doing like 1 through 10. It's like pulling certificate 1 through 10. What I'm saying, if there's 15 sources, we not run 1 on each source. So the tool itself is running against all of the sources at the same time, if that's what you mean. So there is a reader set up for every log. So when you run the tool, it is running against every CT log. Right? So you don't need to set up like Gungnir for each one. It's doing that itself. It's ingesting the logs, the current list of logs, and setting up a reader for each one, and then printing to the screen what it finds. The problem is I've been using one reader. Like there's a reader function. I think it's called like scan logs or something in the code. It's one reader function, and I've just been unleashing it in a Go routine on each log. The problem is it's perfect for all the other logs except for that Google one. The Google one, it needs to crank up to like a bajillion. But it also needs to be able to index itself correctly along with itself. So it's going to take a little bit of work to do. But yeah. But the tool, I've used this new version of the tool for the past like 2 or 3 days in silent, like haven't released it because I've released like 4 versions in the past week. And I have found a lot. Now that I've like tuned it a lot better and stuff, like a lot of stuff pops up, especially like during working hours. It's insane. It's super nice. So that version is going to come out either tonight or tomorrow whenever I get a second to like put it all together and publish it. And again, this is something I would recommend. If this is something you're into, like beating other hunters to the punch, like being the first one to assets, like I would dig into this kind of stuff and look into like what stuff can you find, like what sources are like security trails and stuff using, and what can you find first, right? So like certificate data, reverse IP data, like headers, titles, like stuff like that, right? Like that's all out there in the internet. Like yes, security trails and some of these other companies are pulling them and like putting them in a nice little GUI or an API for you, but like the only difference is like you're not pulling it yourself. Anyway, I have been informed food is here. There's a bacon cheese boiger with my name on it. Hopefully y'all love the stream. We've averaged a ton of you for a Friday, which is way better than I expected. We hit 300 followers. We're at 301 followers. I'm probably going to try and do another one on either Saturday or Sunday, probably Sunday. Although we'll probably try not to overlap with J Beers so the homie can have a sweet stream, because I'm going to probably be in that one too. But I'm going to go, so we'll probably like make sure we don't overlap or something. But I'm going to go enjoy this food. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out on the stream. Have an excellent Friday night, Saturday morning, wherever you are, depending. I will see you next time. I hope you learned something. I hope to see you again in the future. Follow the stream, hit the little bell so you know when I come online. And yeah, we'll be back at it next time. I swear at one point in time we will do a Portswigger lab. I swear at some point we will do one. But we got so much learning to do. All right, guys. Thanks. I'm heading out. Peace.